Test. Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes for group one for your Q2. Dominic, Tapana, Eric, Wenjie, Gabriel, and Derek. Too loud. Very loud. Test. Now, louder. Still too loud. Too loud. Still too loud. Test. Testing now better. Don't put too near my mouth.
I don't wanna talk about it. I'm good.
Okay. Time out. 5 minute break for Derek to get ready. Derek, where's your runner?
Right now.
1 minute to start.
Okay, we'll wait for Derek. Oh, he's out already. Okay, group one. You can come out option.
45 seconds to start. Go to your start position.
Group three, to Marshall.
30 seconds to start. Start. Order. Car 3, car 2, car 4, car
Please check in.
5, car
Dominic
1,
and
car
Eric and
6.
Derek will be checking. Oh, okay. Tapana, don't wait there. Tapana. Okay, start order will be Dominic, Tapana, Eric, Wenjie, and Derek. Faster to start. Drivers ready? Marshall's ready. Let's go. Dominic,
of
Tapana,
three,
Eric,
two, four,
Wenjie,
5, 1,
and Derek.
6.
16-1 for Dominic, 17-2 for Tapana. Eric comes in at 17-9. Wenjie 18-4. We did there, Eric. Here he comes. First lap for track 19-1. 16-2 this time round for Dominic. Coming on pace for 19.507 at this current rate. But yet to go below 16 seconds. Fastest lap so far, oh dear. 15-4, I believe, from Sean. Round 1 of qualifying. The Marcos went between the gap. Oh dear. Okay. Alright.
4
Problem
minutes to
for Derek.
drive.
Shock coming off. Marshall.
Why are you putting it there?
So it's Dominic, Tapana, and Eric. Gap is 9.7 seconds. Oh dear. Eric goes too close to the curb. A bit too greedy there. The leader is the green car. Green and black car is the borrowed right.
Hi, morning.
X3, X3.
HG around? HG?
19.511 pace for Dominic at the current moment. Coming up to the 2 minute time mark, someone in between. Oh, Dominic is shot as two cars clash on the front double.
3 minutes to drive.
Warning. Marshall. Caution. The leader is a green car. He has a sizable lead on the orange and red car, which is Tapana V from Thailand. So 12-second lead. Derek Shocks come off again. It's the Melbourne Astro Buggy Champs round number 5. Just past the halfway mark. Just over 2 minutes to go. The leader is the green car. Coming through the front double now.
2
Up to the
minutes
start
to
line.
drive.
Out to the second gear. Tapana V second right behind him. But he's 1 lap down. Just under 2 minutes to go. Oh no, Derek's shocks have come off again. It's like a weak point for his car. Oh, looks like he need a set of screw-in shocks instead. Dominic on pace for 19.513.
1 minute to drive.
4 minutes down, 1 to go. The leader coming through the front double again. Onto the start line. Almost rolled it on 2 wheels. Oh no, the shock is out again. Oh, they are. Okay. Someone rolled it on the top deck.
30
Let me just
seconds to
recover. 30
drive.
seconds to go. got 15 seconds for Dominic moving forward here and Derek.
Finished 5.
Derek
Finished
done.
6.
All class done. Just keep your cars die and then you'll get scored. Okay, group one drivers out to Marshall.
Hey, just settle down now here.
All cars will check in.
Daddy, are you gonna race or are you just gonna play?
Andrew checks
Are
in.
you gonna race or are you just
No,
gonna
he
play?
helped me set up.
Okay, all cars checked in. I see Bob Marshall's in position. Cars will start. Start order will be Andrew, Wayne, Steven, and Joe. Joe looking very aggressive through the last. Okay, drivers ready. Let's go. Andrew,
Start.
Wayne,
Car
Steven,
5, 2,
and Joe.
1. Tour.
Yeah, good Thomas started out with a grasshopper.
And I haven't done this in like 30 minutes.
Like riding a bike. So don't worry about it.
And then you get the whole
Hey, it's something to start off with lah. Start off somewhere, then after that, from there just move on.
But he was very good. So he's sending photographs.
Yeah, he has been playing a lot.
Yeah, he said this is his other job.
Alright.
Okay.
Just go on lah, enjoy yourself.
Okay,
Use the
thanks.
track. Yeah.
Thanks. And then if you all
Andrew now.
every one you have a
Your
look,
leader
then
at the end of the lap.
Popo can update the video and stuff.
Uncle lah, where got abang?
You look so young.
Ayo, I
You wanna go
wish.
outside? Let's go have a look.
Rose is just
Come.
coming out.
Thanks.
Hey, no worries, no worries. Just enjoy yourself.
Four minutes to drive.
One down, four to go. In Q2 for Group 2, Andrew your leader. 19.508 pace. Sorry, Steven has taken over by just 0.4 seconds. Oh, problem for Steven right in the middle. Marshall going. So we're losing plenty of time. Give back the lead to Andrew. Black Bay goes up to second. Uncle Joe, you're only 1.1 behind Steven. Still 0.1 Uncle Joe behind Steven for third position.
3 minutes to drive.
2 down, 3 to go. Andrew puts in a 15.4 last lap. Now 16.2. Andrew, your leader. Yellow, fluorescent yellow and white car.
2 minutes to drive.
Three down, two to go. Andrew on the day score 19-5-0-4. Total aggression to the last loop. Rolls him, some time. Steven currently up into second place. 1.5 minutes to go. 9 seconds the gap between Steven and Andrew. May is only 0.1 second behind. 110. May running the all white and
1 minute to drive.
one to go. May back up into the two spot. Steven back up into second, just point 0.1 up. Very close battle between May and Steven for second place. As they start to come up back to
30
back.
seconds to
30
drive.
seconds to go. Steven still holds the slight advantage, point 0.1. Oh no. Some problem for Steven. Think about his tires.
Finished car. 2. Finished
He manages
1.
to make it by the line and he loses out to
Finished
May by
5.
1/1000th of a second. Waiting for Joe, track still live.
Finished
All cars
4.
done.
Time is over. Race finished.
1/1000th of a second. May win Steven. Okay, guys, you can check online for the results because there's some problem printing out for some reason. Some look tricky. Okay, we do have our printout. SF, current best lap, 15.4, Andrew Tao.
Aaron? Where are you going, Aaron?
Alright, all cars checked in. Can we have our marshals in position? Marshal start. Start order, Sean, Ismail, Sebastian, Fazli, and Don. Drivers ready, marshals ready. Let's go racing. Sean,
Start.
Ismail,
Car. 2.
Sebastian,
4.
Fazli,
3.
and
5.
Don. Snap problem there for Sean as Ismail immediately overtook him. Put himself up by 2 seconds in lap 1. Joe, in fact, Sean is in the P5 position. Don is up into second. Papa Lee is in fact in third. As he said on his Facebook post, not to be outdone by Sean Lee, now up into two spots. Sean back into third position. Plus Lee and Don. I repeat, the top five here.
4 minutes to drive.
Very quickly, got 1 minute down, four to go. Oh, mistake there for Isma. There was Don. There was out of the ball right. The leader on the upper tier. Keep going, keep going. Uh, stop.
3 minutes to drive.
I want to run down the roof. It's not. Okay, follow to you. You guys need to shut. Everyone okay? Just run through the roof a bit. Okay, let's start again. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, call your name. Sean,
Start. Of
Ismail,
car. 2,
Sebastian,
1.
Fazli,
Tour.
Don. Ismail, please
Car.
wait for your name to be called. Oh, stop. Marshall in the middle. Sean up by point 0.1 this time, but he rolls it. That gives the advantage back to Pandi.
4 minutes to drive.
One down. Sean Cummins lead with a 20.1. Sebastian goes up. Don goes up into second. Sebastian 3. Sean in 4. And Fazli in 5. Fazli on pace for 19th flat. Current pace. Ultao still holds the best lap. 15.402 is now 15.492. Sean 4.51. Sean just broke the track record. 15.3. And he rolls it. And
3 minutes to
straight.
drive.
2 down, 3 to go. Still Apati with the lead. Top 3 clearly ahead of provisional DQ, Dominic. Sebastian goes. Sorry, 16-3. I thought it was 17. Isaac away. Oh, yeah. Stuck. Oh, the problem for Don. Loses a nut in the wheel as well.
2 minutes to drive.
3 down, 2 to go. Bundy on pace 19.02. Sean in second. Sorry, Sebastian in second place at the moment. Sean is 1 second behind. Couple of mistakes. He's been cutting it very close as he comes onto the top gear. Oh, we have a problem for Fasti riding the pipes. Sean goes up into P2 by 0.8.
没有，他的名才会
The leader, Abandi. Last lap 15.6, Sean 15.7. Sebastian
1
16.5.
minute to drive.
1 to go. Now last lap 15.9, Sean 15.8.
30 seconds to drive.
Sebastian had a slow one, the 17-second lap. Got slightly off the pace. Eastbound speed is a big one, almost a full lap. As Sean comes up on Fasti, Sean makes a side mistake there.
Finished car.
It's not your done.
Time is over.
Finish the lap, you're on, guys.
Finished.
Thank you, Fasti.
Finished tour. Finished
All
3.
cars are done. Ismail takes the win, 95.00, 5 left. Sean in second, Sebastian third, and Fasti in fourth. Okay, we take a 10-minute break once again. The end of 2 rounds. Now both rounds. It is Abandi, your leader. 308, Sean in second, 307, Dominic, and 303. And you now in
Aquí ya lo
fourth,
tuvo.
303. Group 1 will start in 10 minutes.
to start. Start. Order. Car 3, car 2, car 4, car 5, car 6, car 1.
Maybe also burn outside.
Three minutes. Okay, we need the marshals from group 3, please. I'm waiting for Derek. Derek, check in. Your turn. Yeah. Okay, guys, can we have you not smoking under the driver's stand? Please stand away. I'm out. ready. Marshall is ready. Go when the name is called. Dominic,
Start.
Papana,
Card. 3,
Eric,
2, 4, 5,
Volunteer,
6, 1.
and Derek. Marshall. 62 first lap for Dominic, followed by Tapana and Volunteer. Dominic cruise to 158. The leader with green and black car. Current pace is on 19.506. Another 58.
Four minutes to drive.
Very quickly, 1 minute now, 4 to go. Coming up. One and a half minutes now. Marshall. Dismount. Dismount. Don't go up. Just squat. Just squat there. Lie flat. Or lie down. Coming up to a 2 minute timer. Marshall on the second.
3 minutes to
Front
drive.
double. Oh no, another mistake there for Volunteer to go to the rescue. Okay, Volunteer, your leader behind you. Go to the wall. Papana, you're in second. Comes past the line. Oh, 2 cars down on the front double. Double somersault there for Volunteer. Lands on his rubber. Continues on his way. Dominic, Papana, Derek, Eric, and Volunteer.
2 minutes to drive.
3 down, 2 to go.
But what? It doesn't have top.
90 seconds remaining. Volunteer left will not count.
1 minute to drive.
Keep going, keep going.
30 seconds to drive.
507.
Finished.
Erica,
Finished.
Tapanada.
2. Time is over. Race finished. Finished. 6.
Looking for Wentia to finish. Live track is still live. No, no. Finish.
Finished. 5.
Oh, stop, stop.
While the boys enjoy themselves, we just enjoy the aircon better. Yeah. That's the reason why we opted for this place. Very, very. Then if you get bored, you can go shopping. Yeah, no, you can walk all the way down to Bugis Market, or even Bugis Junction. Yeah, super hot today. Yeah, but for us, we prefer this weather. Yeah, correct. Especially at this part of the earth, right? The moment it's wet, and it's wet so often. Only the past 1.5 weeks. Before then, past 3 days, yeah, past 3 days it was super hot. But certain parts of Singapore is
Next up
still
will
wet.
be Group 2. So group 1 to Marshall, please.
He's running away from the dad, getting scolded too much. Uh, the toy. Ah.
All cars checked in. Now to the start. In start order will be Andrew, Faye, Steven, and Joe. Drivers ready? Let's go racing. Andrew,
Start.
Faye,
Of. Car.
Steven,
5. 2.
and Joe.
1. 4. 3.
Waiting car once again setting the pace. Cheered on by Ismail. Andrew loses the lead, goes down to third position. Steven nearly leader, followed by Faye.
Ayan, bro.
Kilometers to drive.
One down. More to go. Oh no, this time around he hits the wall on his own. Stephen Day, first and second. Technical lap times for the top two. They run back to back. Day, let Stephen go by. The front double, the wind picks up. Second for Uncle Joe. Joe, you only 1.2 seconds down.
2
there is
minutes to
18.
drive.
2 down, 3 to go. Fine, you guys go through the under the ramp. 16 left. Okay, 16-7. Andrew 15-8 this time round. Joe 16 left. Just past the halfway mark. Steven on course for a fast one. 19.5 left. To the long right.
2 minutes to drive.
3 down, 2 to go. 16-1. Steven's pace drops to a 19.509. One and a half minutes to go. Here comes Steven. 16-2 this time round. Pace drops to 19.508. Andrew back up into the 2 spot on a 19.510 pace. Okay, you're only point 0.3 behind. Okay, running just behind the leader.
1 minute to drive.
All of them are the
60
O
seconds
level
remaining.
first class.
So you gotta go
Start
there and
to
buy
stick
like
there.
some
Correct.
like some
Correct.
I got no time.
The buggies, right? The problem is, just one jump,
He drops
and
1
he broke it.
second behind Andrew.
Usually all those lower buggies were not meant to jump any of the orders. Yeah. Those are all not meant to jump. Those are meant to still run like what we used to do before. Yeah.
30
Can't
seconds
these
to
are
30
drive.
seconds to go. Wade goes up into the 2 spot.
And normally I would
Like Joe
buy
is up
buggies,
third.
get
Joe
drop
with the
something
leader.
from
Oh no, your leader, Big. Big
yeah.
Marshall by
Avoid the
quick
yeah.
tapang.
Like okay, don't buy gift shop either because Japan plastics just super.
And with that mistake
Yeah, like
there,
myself,
Wade finish the lap
ever since
round.
we started, I was never a buggy driver. I
Track
got
is
myself
still
a buggy
live,
here,
track is still live.
and it served me all the way for the past 5 years. Same buggy.
Wade
I
takes
barely
the
did
race.
anything with the buggy.
Followed by
It's a proper buggy,
Joe and
but
Andrew.
if you do the
Top
math,
of the line.
because the full setup is around 2.5 grand, but at the span of 5 years, yeah, and it's still going. It's already the 6th year now.
HDI one or
No, this is the X-ray.
you build yourself?
Yeah.
It's up to 3.
Yeah, you can always get us to go and build it for you. Yeah, we do have a lot of people who don't have the time to actually build. So we do provide the services.
Okay, Aaron. Uncle is not saying no, you have to probably start with a car first.
Buggies are a lot harder.
Group 3.
A lot harder. You want one?
Are you gonna drive?
Hey,
Okay, now we're gonna see how fast it is. Let us have a look.
Okay, all cars checked in. No more laps. Cars to start. Group 2 guys. Need you out for Marshall. Group 2. Start order
2, 4, 3,
Oh, perfect
5.
game for this round right now. Stage 3 is now slow lap at 19.5, drops to the back of the grid. Fastly goes in the fast lap. Lap 1, 16.1 goes up to P1. Sean counting 16.2. He's now with a 15.6. Leader Sean Lee by 1.1 second over Fastly. Fastly driving the yellow and blue. Coming up on
4 minutes to drive.
one down, off road. Another mistake there for Bundy. Big picking up. Shortly with 15.8 last lap. This time round comes in with the 16.1. Sean on pace for 19.507. Bundy still running in form. See where he goes after the end of this lap. Bundy early second. Fastly coming through. Two over to second. This now moves up to third. And we have Dawn. Oh no, a mistake there for Sean. Spins the wheel. Roger in the middle, double.
3 minutes to drive.
Your leader, Fastly, 1.4 seconds up. Oh, mistake there for Dawn. Wide into the middle. Fastly still holds the lead by 1.7 seconds. The blue and yellow car coming to the big jump in the middle. Under the ramp. Middle double. Turns around. Front double. Up the ramp he goes. Fastly comes in with 15.8. Mati up into the two spot. He's just 0.08 ahead of Sean. This one comes with a 15.6. Sean the 16th flat. Fastly with 15.7 holds a 1.3 second
2
lead
minutes
over
to
Ishmael.
drive.
Two to go. Looks like we're shaping up for a very exciting finish to this run. Okay. Watching the front double. Watching the front double. Okay, Steven out, Steven. Oh, Sean rolls it again. It's a 0.3 second lead for Fastly over this round. Here comes this round. He's now with a 15.8. Fastly still holds the advantage by 2/100 of a second. Oh, mistake there in the middle. Way on the other side. Mistake there for Fastly. That will give
1
the
minute to
lead back
drive.
to Bundy. 1 minute to go. Should be a comfortable lead now for this round. 5.4 second lead over Sean in second. Fastly drops to third position. Current pace 19.506.
30 seconds to
With
drive.
30 seconds to go. That should be enough to give this round the DQ for the round. Oh, and as I say that, he makes a mistake in the middle double. Does that give the lead back up to Sean? I don't think so. It was a 5 second lead. 19.3. Sean at a 16. Lead is down to 2.1 seconds. We should be on our final lap now.
Time is over.
Keep going.
Race finish.
Just now you're done.
Finish car 1.
Come, Sean. Sean, you're not done.
Finish 2.
Sean, you're done. Keep going, guys.
Finish 3.
Finish the lap.
Finish 5.
And this one comes in the 19.510. Sean in 512. This is come around to take another 10-minute break. One more round, no more.
Woo! Nice, good job.
Where? Oh.
No, I try to use the same stick better because it's too what's that? Too smooth. Yeah. So we put some like make it no then later cannot remove because the one that I applied when you heat up it will expand then cool down contract then you can feel. If the whole glass itself is already rough, right, no way to feel. Cannot remove. No, wrong picture lah you. I'm running one battery and I'm too lazy to pick up.
I'm kind of point from point to point.
Oh, the three of us.
You are 1 point above. Me and Sean got 3 and a 1. 1 and a 6. Yeah. Next time 我们几个
They all have PA.
Ali is using I was using Ali for me. Yeah, I go there I use noisy. Then if you all go there you all don't really use.
Also, they're supposed to be for laugh.
Yeah, that one go there, decrease, then you
When you move money, I don't laugh.
I didn't even know you involved money.
Really?
At the end,
Now you tell me already, I cannot go.
I didn't know got money. I go there then got money. Okay, then I laugh. You know why I laugh? Because I win money, but A-main number 7 every month.
Why?
I don't know. A-main 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think up to 6 or something win money.
That is
7,
dumb,
8
what?
no money. Then P1 which is high.
Which is dumb, what?
And I win the first money at 10.
They just beat you.
I didn't know got money. If not, I would have pushed. Because I won in 4-wheel drive. 2-wheel drive, I was P2. Oh, then imagine I 1,000 units.
That much, they can afford it.
500. I won 500.
No, I mean they can afford to give that much. Can you imagine first place how much they gave?
3,000 units.
Oh,
Normal was 7 race also. Then the one Nick also won last time.
on road, I still want to learn on road. A lot more things to learn.
Go where? Guangzhou you want to go?
But in all honesty, I feel if we can run on a small track with modified, right, you go up to a big track, it's a lot easier. The track's more open.
Guangzhou you want to go? Huh?
If you and me go, then that go, who's going to take care of the shop? You done?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like the one in yellow. I don't like the one in red. It's too common. Yes, it is. Have you been practicing both? Yes. You do? That's the idea. To go fast, you need to press. So it presses into you. Maybe you can do it the same favor. That's the horrible one. They look good. So do the both of you race at home?
Sound wants to start.
Yours is an indoor car.
3 part, 2 part, 6 part, 4 part, 5 1.
But do you share your car? Oh, you should learn how to share, okay? You should. Yeah, the toy breed. No, no, you should. What not until Daddy gets more expensive. Don't worry, it's a healthy hobby. By that point, there's a difference. No,
We have something like this. We call it anymore.
But you're so pretty then. As in when you're here, then no, I mean like as in when you're here, like that's what I do. They ask you, oh, what photo? No, I didn't go. Oh no no no, I was going to send it to you. Huh? You just tell me what you need.
1 minute to start.
TV kau kan? Macam mana buat
Makan tutup.
Five minutes to start. Start the session.
bukan daripada TV lah. Daripada komputer.
Duduk kat komputer.
30 seconds to start. Start. Order. Part 3. Part
Oh, TV clear sih.
6.
Okay, kebabai. Lebih murah.
Tidak handphone. Kompau. Alamak. Nak onward.
No, no, ikut. This one no more tire.
9.
Final and take out. New tire.
7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2.
You never notice I never push all the way. You see me, mashallah.
Eh, kau WD-40 tau kan?
You can see right, my one. Easy. Don't push better. Hey, Sahib, come, I know. Oh,
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Hey, thank you, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Okay. What have we do? Marshall's from group 3. Group 1. How to track this? So you should have Dominic, Tapana, Derek, Eric, and Will here. Last round of body.
I want you to tire lah. It's okay.
Aaron, you want? Come back again, we'll rank one of those and then we can try. Okay?
Group 3. Marshall, group 3. Okay, all cars checked in. Start order: Dominic, Tapana, Derek, Eric, and Wen Jie. Oh, two-wheel drive. Okay, drive is at the back. Hey, start already lah. Shortcut, 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 short. Okay, let's go racing. Ratings on. Dominic,
Start.
Tapana,
Part 3,
Derek,
2, 6,
Eric,
4, 5,
and
1.
Wen Jie. Lastly, I need someone marshal this side. Up. Watch it in the front double. Yeah. Watch it. So your leader, Dominic, on lap 3. Tampana is 3.9 seconds back. Then we have Derek, Wen Jie, and Eric. Dominic on pace for 5:06. 19 lap run. Marshall.
4 minutes to drive.
1.5 minutes down. 3.5 to go. Derek moves up to P2. Obviously, he solved his shock problem. Going fast. As I say that, he has the upside down problem. Leader comes up on Tapana
3 minutes to
and
drive.
Eric. To some traffic loses Dominic some time. 16.6 last lap. Pace 19.508. Oh, Tapana lands short. Bounces off the front wall. And he shot again. Tapana has a length problem. Or maybe it's the wind. The wind picks up slightly. Comes into some mid-wind on the jump. The leader is coming up on Wenjie. Coming up to 3 minutes. 2 to go.
2 minutes to drive.
Watch it. Schedule and the seat of the time. They are trying to do a secret challenge. They're trying to see whether they can knock the secret out of Uncle Joe's mouth. It will be a new viral sensation on YouTube. Secret challenge using buggy. Let's try it. Maybe we can go viral. Coming up to 4 minutes. Maybe over 1 minute to go.
I do something for you.
Okay, good.
1 minute to
1
drive.
minute to go. Your leader, Dominic, the green car, coming up on the wall right. On the 9 506. Oh, dear. 30 seconds to go.
30 seconds to drive.
It going
Finished
should be the
car
last lap.
2.
Mana ya dah?
Finished 3. Finished 6.
5.
Lap time is over. The race finished. Finished 4.
We're
Finished
all
5.
cars of that. So Dominic Campana, Derek, Eric, and Woods here. Next up, Group 2. Group 2, 3 minutes.
How come you say bird shit? Really not looking for bird shit. Sean, you go break daddy's car. Forever lah, Sean.
Start order will be Bay, Steven, Joe, and Andrew.
You never threadlock, right? Do you threadlock?
Drivers ready, marshals ready, let's go. Bay,
Start of
Steven,
car 2.
Joe,
1. 4. 5. 3.
current leader, Andrew Tao, followed by Joe, A, and Steven. Steven comes in for 16. Steven 16.3. Andrew 16.4. Joe Lam 16.3. Just 1.2 seconds back, Joe, from Andrew. Side by side they go. Andrew 15.5. A 16.3. Joe 16.7. Steven at a two last
4
lap
minutes to
round.
drive.
Okay, Wall White Andrew. 16-6. Stephen a 16-1. Andrew another 15-5 in the book. 16-2 for Joe. Andrew on fire. He's on a 19-5 flat run. Comes up short on the big track. So that's Joe. Andrew coming up on Stephen. Start for Andrew a 16-3. To Stephen. Joe has a meeting with the board. Oh dear. Andrew to get to have a second bite of the cherry. That will lose him plenty of time.
3
Joe
minutes
rolls
to
in on the
drive.
front double. 2 down, 3 to go. Andrew getting out of rhythm. Yo. So it's Stephen Day, Joe. Andrew drops to 4th. To give Sebastian some time. Oh no, Stephen in the middle. Watch it. Big mistake there for Stephen. As our leaders all drop below the 19 lap run place. Joe Lam was a leader last lap. Oh, as I said it, he rolled it. He drops to 4th.
2 minutes to drive.
3 down, 2 to go. Okay, 16-2. Stephen off. Upswing to the 16-8. Andrew 16-9. Joe Lam 15-9. Your current leader is Andrew Tao. 19.515 pace. Made second. Just 0.8 back. Joe in third.
1 minute to drive.
Andrew comes in with 16-1. He has good book. Okay. After Joe is upside down on the upper gear. Big mistake there in the middle. Wrong side, doctor. Take it easy, guys. Your last 30
5
seconds on the
seconds
front
to
stop.
drive.
Big jump as he rolls it. Oh, full grass. Full grass.
Finish at part 1.
Stephen was okay, Andrew
Finished 2. Finished 5.
waiting for Joe. Track is still live. Track is still live. Waiting for Joe.
Time is over. Race station.
All time
Finished 4.
18.502 for Andrew.
Either the MR33 or the tire clip, correct? Cannot use the oil based one. Chewy. Yeah.
What's up, group 3? Group 3. Check in on practice.
No. Same time, bro. I told him already.
Testing. Okay, we'll have a short break. We wait for Sebastian a while. Let's give him another 5 minutes.
The rainy weather nicer lah for pagi. Fire already know, we play already. Maybe you spray water lah, spray water lah. Good idea lah. Spray water. Oh, the whole track everything. Shiok lah, very exciting side.
Ya lah, sih.
Five minutes to start. Start. Order. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 5, part 4.
Okay, guys, I think let's run. Guys, let's run. 2, 3.
興趣
Okay, we need the marshals from group 2.
One minute to start. 45 seconds to start.
Marshals from
Your
group 2,
turn.
please. We need Ajo, Andrew. Guys, please check in. Sean to check in. Okay. 4 laps, cars to the start. Marshals from group 2. Andrew. Okay, starting order: Ismail, Sean, Fasti, and John. Drivers ready, marshals ready, let's go racing. Ismail,
Start.
Sean,
Car. 1,
Fasti,
2,
and
3,
John.
5, 4,
Let the drivers settle down. God comes up short. At the end of 2 laps, your leader is Sean Lee. On pace for 95.03, 5:10 for Ismail. Sean Lee with a 59 last lap. Fasti 58 last lap. Ismail had an 18-second lap. Sean Lee puts in the fast one, 15.4.
4 minutes to drive.
1 down, 4 to go. Sean Lee on a 20 lap pace now. 55 last lap. Ismail had a 55 last lap. 15.9 this time round. Sean 15.7. Gets a bit short. This time 16.4. Ismail still on a 50, on another 55 lap run. 55 lap time. As he starts to close in on Sean. The gap between first and second is 2.7 seconds with Sean
3
in
minutes
pole.
to drive.
2 down, 3 to go. Both cars on a 19.502 pace. The leader is the blue car. Watch it. Go. builds up a 3.6-second lead on Ismail. Basky running in third, and we have Don Chiu fourth. Oh, mistake there for Sean. Will let Ismail go by, but Sean retains the lead. Both cars on a 19.506 pace.
2 minutes to drive.
3 down, 2 to go. Oh, another mistake there for Sean on the wall right. Should see, oh, mistake there for Ismail Marshall. Oh, mistakes there for the leader. Sean keeps the lead. Basky goes up to P2. Ismail drops to 3. Sean on the 19.508, 507 this time out. Ismail 510. 1.5 minutes to go. Sean picks up the pace with 58 lap time. Pace drops to 504. Comes up a little short on the big jump.
1 minute to drive.
1 minute to go. 15.8, 15.7 for Ismail. 2.8 seconds back. Basky on third on a 510 pace. Sean Lee 5:58. Ismail 15.4. Cuts the lead to 2.4 seconds. 1.5 minutes to go.
30 seconds to drive.
30 seconds to go, sorry. Sean on a 5:03 pace. Ismail 06. It should be the last lap.
Finished part.
Sean, you're done.
Finished
Ismail,
play.
you're done. Waiting for Basky and Dawn. Back to you live.
Finished 5. Finished
All
3.
cars done. Sean takes the win. 5:03, 19 lap. Ismail 06. Basky 5:11 and Dawn on 13 lap. Okay, we'll sort out and we'll run the sum up before we take. I think we can do a short lunch break now. Whether it's okay.
Eh, fire official juga.
Hey, later just take him out.
So at the end of qualifying, your PQ is Sean Lee. Taking second place, Ismail. Finishing in third qualifying is Dominic, and Andrew takes the last of the direct entry into the A main in fourth. Basky 5, Dave 6, Sebastian 7, Stevens 8, Joel 9, 10 is Tapana, then we have Derek 11, Don is 12, Eric Chu, 13, and Wen Jie in fourth. So we'll run the C bump up.
Tayar dia.
Now is what? What's the key?
Hah?
What's the key?
Eh?
You go try.
So the C bump up will be Joe, Tapana, Derek, Don, Eric, and Wen Jie starting the MA.
Kita dapat powder. after you run full lap. Dominic, is this yours? one person, how many setups each and every you need lah? Why got so many?
This one last time I have one.
Huh?
This one I buy the people come with it.
One car got only 4 tire leh.